John Harris wasn't a man prone to imagination. Facts, numbers, terraforming protocols, those grounded him. But lately, nothing felt grounded anymore. Every evening for the past week, he had watched her from the safety of his living room window. The Thalin woman who lived across the meadow wasn't doing anything particularly strange, watering her plants, tending to glowing vines that curled like bioluminescent ribbons around the garden. But it wasn't the plants that unnerved him. It was her. She moved with a calm, fluid grace that didn't feel human. And maybe that was the problem. She wasn't. Her name was Nixery. Blue skin like moonlight over still water. Long azure hair that shimmered in the twilight. Her eyes caught the fading sun in a way that made John feel like he was trespassing just by looking. He'd only spoken to her once, months ago. A polite nod. Nothing more. But now, every glance carried weight, like a string pulling tighter with each sunset. Tonight was different. The air itself shimmered. The humidity buzzed against his skin as if alive. He sipped from his lukewarm coffee, only to realize his fingers had gone numb. Not from temperature, but from something else. Something pulling at him. He rubbed his temples, trying to shake the pressure that had built up behind his eyes since morning. Every time he tried to focus on work, his thoughts drifted back to her. She was in his dreams now, soft whispers in a language he didn't understand. A touch he hadn't felt but somehow remembered. He stood. The air outside hit him like a wall. The moment he stepped onto the porch, he felt it again. That pulse. Not physical, but something deeper. Emotional. His heart beat faster, not from exertion, but resonance. Like his feelings were echoing, reflecting something not his own. Nixery was there, barefoot on the grass, watering the garden. She wore a white crop top and dark shorts, like always. Casual. Effortless. Alien. She turned. He froze. Her gaze met his across the meadow, and for a split second, everything inside him went quiet. The tension, the confusion, the pull all still. Then something passed between them, unseen but undeniable. A flicker of connection, like a spark leaping across a gap. And suddenly, he felt her. Not her thoughts. Not her words. Her feelings. Loneliness. Intensity. A craving for something unspoken. His breath caught. She blinked, eyes widening slightly, as if realizing what she'd done. She dropped the hose, water spraying wildly across the grass. John stepped down from the porch without thinking. His boots crunched softly along the gravel path that cut through the field separating their homes. With each step, the pull grew stronger. Like gravity realigned itself around her. "Stop," she said quietly, voice like glass fogged by morning air. But he didn't. When he reached her, she didn't step back. Just watched him, unsure. Her eyes shimmered, not from tears, but from light. As if emotions radiated from her in visible waves. "I didn't mean to draw you," she said. "I tried to shield it." "Shield what?" he asked, his voice lower than usual. She closed her eyes. "The resonance." He frowned. "Resonance." Nixery stepped back, but only slightly. "My people, we don't mate like yours do. It's not just physical. It's emotional alignment. When the season begins, we emit." He didn't speak. "It's like a call. But not to all, only to those who are emotionally compatible. It's never supposed to reach a human. You weren't supposed to feel it." John looked at her, stunned. "You're saying I'm feeling your mating call?" "That's a crude way to put it," she said with a faint smile. "But, yes." He looked around at her glowing plants, the warmth humming through the air. "And this has been happening all week." She nodded. "It's getting stronger. It's never happened across species. You need to leave before." He felt it again. A wave of emotion. Not his. Hers. Fear. Not of him. For him. "You're scared," he said. She hesitated. Resonance is overwhelming. It fuses emotion. If you stay too close for too long, your emotions stop being yours. You start feeling me as if you are me. Most Thalin can't even handle it fully. For a human, it might break you. John took a step back then, not from fear, but instinct. So what now? She turned away, kneeling to shut off the hose. Now you go home. Block the windows. Keep your distance. In 4 days, the cycle ends. I'll return to normal, and you'll forget. But John didn't move. Why did it reach me? He asked quietly. I don't know. He looked at her again, her fingers trembling slightly as she touched the vines. The garden that had once seemed decorative now felt sacred. Ritualistic. Like a place where something ancient unfolded in silence. And he had wandered into it. Without invitation. Or had he? He stepped forward, just once. Nixery. Her name felt strange on his tongue. Like it didn't belong to this language. She turned. Her eyes widened, and her lips parted. Then, without touching, he felt her again. A memory. A whisper. A sensation of soft hands and crashing emotion. But it wasn't his. It was hers, memories of another bond, long lost, buried under sadness and tradition. He stumbled back, breath sharp. What the hell was that? Her face paled. You saw it. I felt it. You need to go, she said again, more urgent now. Please. For both our sakes. John turned and walked away. But something followed him, not footsteps, not sound. Something inside him was no longer his. John didn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, Nixery was there, sometimes standing in the garden, sometimes whispering in a language he couldn't understand. But always feeling. Waves of emotion that weren't his surged inside him. Memories, half-formed and sharp, clung to the edges of his thoughts. And when he finally drifted into a light doze near dawn, he woke up sweating and short of breath. She was in his head. He didn't want to believe it, but the signs were undeniable. By midday, his hands trembled while typing work reports. The temperature of the soil in Quadrant 4 was supposed to matter. It didn't. Nothing held weight. Just that pull, the lingering echo of what she felt. He could almost hear her heartbeat when the wind passed his cabin. That wasn't normal. Not even for Verdantia. He gave up pretending he could ignore it. By late afternoon, he stood on the edge of his property again, staring at the garden across the field. Nixery was kneeling among the plants, fingertips brushing the glowing leaves. Her skin pulsed faintly under the sun, like moonlight behind water. When she looked up and saw him, she didn't move. Neither did he. Finally, she stood and walked toward him. No hesitation. No fear. When she reached the fence between their lots, she said, I thought you wouldn't come back. I didn't plan to, he replied. But I can't keep pretending it's not happening. Nixery exhaled, slow and steady. Then you're feeling it still. Yes. They stood in silence. A bird cried in the trees. Somewhere nearby, a machine hummed in the underbrush, part of the terraforming equipment John had forgotten to deactivate. He didn't care. I saw a memory last night, he said. It wasn't mine. She nodded, not surprised. It's intensifying. What does that mean? Nixery leaned lightly against the fence. It means our minds are becoming transparent. Not fully yet. But the resonance is strengthening. I thought it would fade. It's not, he said plainly. She didn't argue. Her fingers traced the wooden post absently, then stopped. You're not supposed to be affected, she said. Humans have no telepathic receptors. You shouldn't feel anything. Well, I do, he said, voice quiet. Why me? She hesitated, her voice almost a whisper. Maybe, you were open. More than you know. John crossed the fence. She didn't flinch. Then help me understand this, he said. What exactly are we feeling? Nixery stared into him, really into him. Not with eyes, but something deeper. It's not attraction the way you define it. The resonance chooses emotional alignment, grief, hope, wounds, peace. It matches scars. He blinked. She continued. Your pain, the things you bury. They match mine. John didn't speak. He didn't have to. She stepped aside and led him toward the garden. The vines glowed softly, pulsing to a rhythm not unlike a heartbeat. He followed her to a bench shaded by a broad-leafed tree. The air buzzed faintly. When they sat, she said, if I let it deepen, we'll share everything. But there's a risk. For you. What kind of risk? You could lose your sense of emotional boundaries. Forget what feelings are yours. Humans aren't wired to carry dual hearts. John looked down at his hands. Feels like I already started. Nixery gave a faint smile, sad, but warm. We can try to stabilize it. I can walk you through the tethering. What's that? She shifted slightly to face him. We align on purpose. Instead of letting it flood uncontrolled. I give you a memory, and you give me one in return. Voluntarily. That's safe. It's less dangerous than resisting it. John hesitated, then nodded. What do I do? Close your eyes, she said. He did. She placed her hand gently over his. Breathe. Focus only on a single memory. Something real. Something that shaped you. 1,000 moments flashed. But one rose above the rest, his divorce. Cold signatures. Her face turned away. The empty apartment. Pain surged, sharp, focused. Nixery gasped softly beside him. That's deep. Your turn, he murmured. Suddenly, a wave of warmth, then sorrow, crashed through him. Her memory flooded in, not visual, but emotional. Loneliness so complete it felt like drowning. A bond broken too early. A ceremony interrupted by exile. She had been chosen once, rejected by the very council that now oversaw their species' traditions. John's eyes snapped open. He was sweating again. She let go. They sat in silence. Finally, he said, that was the most intense thing I've ever felt. Nixery nodded slowly. And we barely opened the door. He turned to her. Why hide this? Why keep it secret? Because Thalin are taught to resonate only among their kind. Humans are too volatile. Too fragile. And yet I'm here, he said. You're here, she echoed. Suddenly, a rustle behind them. A shadow stepped from the path. Tall. Robed. Thalin. Stern features. Counselor Thrixon. Nixery stiffened. I warned you, Thrixon said, voice like carved ice. The resonance has breached protocol. John stood instinctively. Who are you? He asked. Counselor of Emotional Sanctity, Thrixon replied. And this bond is unauthorized. She didn't ask for it, John snapped. Neither did I. Yet you continued it. He turned to Nixery. You were expected to shield. I tried. You failed. John stepped between them. She doesn't need to explain herself to you. You are not Thalin, Thrixon said coldly. You don't understand the consequences of your presence. Then explain them. Thrixon's gaze sharpened. If this bond completes, it may not be severed. The longer you stay, the more damage it does to you, and to her. I've seen it fracture minds. End lives. You'll need more than words to move me, John said. You have 24 hours, Thrixon said flatly. Then you'll be relocated. He turned and disappeared into the trees. Silence. Nixery exhaled. It's worse than I thought. John's jaw clenched. What happens if I stay? She looked at him. Then answered with something she hadn't dared say until now. We become one. John didn't sleep the next night either. But this time, it wasn't because of confusion. It was choice. The tethering had changed him. Not just emotionally. It shifted how he processed the world, colors felt deeper, sounds clearer, feelings sharper. He was no longer alone in his own mind. Even when Nixery was absent, her presence lingered like a warm echo inside his chest. But so did the deadline. By morning, Thrixon's words pulsed louder than the resonance. You have 24 hours. That clock was ticking fast. Too fast. John packed nothing. Just walked. Past the generator towers. Through the artificial tree line. Across the field to her. Nixery stood outside her home, waiting. You didn't sleep, she said. No. Neither did you. Their eyes met. No words passed. None were needed. The bond had deepened again, beyond language. Then she looked away. You still have time to walk away. I'm not. She hesitated, struggling between relief and dread. If you stay beyond the cycle, the connection completes. There's no reversal. I know. And if you leave, it will break us both, he finished. She nodded slowly. Then we need to stabilize it. Now. He followed her through a vine-covered archway into a chamber carved into the earth. Smooth, white stone. Symbols etched into the walls. It pulsed faintly, resonating like a low hum in his bones. This is an anchoring room, she said. For those who wish to complete the bond without losing themselves. What do I do? Sit. Breathe. Let go. He obeyed, lowering onto a soft woven mat in the center. She knelt across from him, hands open, palms upward. Offer me your core memory, she said gently. The one that still hurts the most. He closed his eyes. The memory surfaced like a wound breaking open, his ex-wife standing in the doorway, suitcase in hand, saying nothing. Just silence. Cold, final silence. Nixery flinched. She accepted it. Took it inside. Then she responded with her own. He felt it hit, her rejection from the council, the elders denouncing her for emotional vulnerability, for excess resonance. Her tears hidden beneath a still face. Shame buried under tradition. The chamber shook faintly. John opened his eyes. A faint glow stretched between them, silver blue threads connecting their foreheads, their hearts, their hands. It's working, she whispered. But then the room pulsed again, this time harder. The door burst open. Thrixon stood at the threshold, flanked by two other robed figures. It's too late, he barked. Stop the bond. Nixery didn't move. Neither did John. You'll ruin him. Thrixon stepped forward, hand raised. You think your emotions are beautiful? They're weapons. They consume. Stop, John said firmly. You have no authority here, human. I chose this. John stood, eyes glowing faintly from the resonance. She didn't force it. We aligned. This is mutual. Thrixon's hand began to spark, an energy emitter designed for mental disruption. Illegal against humans. Lethal if misused. I will not let you break our traditions for a failed bond, he said coldly. Nixery rose, calm but unwavering. You're not protecting us. You're controlling us. You feared what I was, feared I'd prove a bond like this was possible. And now I have. Thrixon stepped closer, hand raised. John didn't think. He moved between them, arms spread. Don't do this. Thrixon hesitated. Nixery spoke one word, sharp, ancient, final. Thrixon froze. The two council guards stepped back. He dropped his hand. You invoked the right, Thrixon hissed. She nodded. Witnessed by a bonded partner. Protected by Article 6 of the Interspecies Compact. His jaw clenched. This isn't over. Yes, it is. He turned, his steps echoing down the stone corridor. Silence returned. John turned to her. What just happened? The right of consensual permanence, she said. It binds us in the eyes of both species. He can't touch us now. Does it change us? Her eyes softened. It already has. Suddenly, her knees buckled. He caught her instantly. Nixery. I gave too much energy stabilizing the bond. I need to rest. John lifted her gently, carrying her from the chamber to her room upstairs. The walls pulsed faintly with residual energy. The garden outside swayed without wind. He laid her down, brushing damp strands of hair from her cheek. She opened her eyes. I can feel you in my chest. I know, he whispered. You're in mine too. She smiled faintly. Then we've already survived the resonance. John sat beside her until her breathing slowed and evened. She drifted into sleep, her hand still resting in his. Outside, the artificial sun dimmed. In that silence, John felt a strange peace. Not calmness. Not numbness. Something richer. Unity. Morning on Verdantia arrived not with light, but with stillness. John sat alone on the porch of Nixery's house, watching the twin suns rise behind misted treetops. The world was quiet. No warnings. No humming machines. No approaching threats. Just breath and silence. Inside, Nixery still slept. Her body had cooled overnight, skin less luminous, energy faint. She hadn't stirred since the bond stabilized. But through the tether, John felt her pulse slow, steady, calm. She was healing. He closed his eyes and focused. She was dreaming. Not about him. About herself. That was a good sign. The door opened behind him. He turned. Nixery stood in the doorway, blanket draped over her shoulders, hair loose around her face. "I thought you'd be gone," she said softly. "I stayed." She stepped onto the porch, sat beside him. Their shoulders brushed. Nothing flared. No surge of resonance. No overwhelming emotions. Just warmth. Peace. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Like the ocean after a storm," she replied. "Quiet, but not empty." He nodded. "That's how I feel too." They sat together, letting the silence hold them. Then she spoke. "You should know, the bond doesn't mean servitude. Or obligation. I know. It doesn't make us property of each other. I never thought it did." She looked at him carefully. "It also doesn't require us to be lovers. That part is chosen." John took a long breath. "And what if I do choose it?" Her smile was small, but real. "Then you're the first human to do so with eyes fully open." He leaned back against the beam. "You're the first being I've ever felt fully seen by." They let that sit between them. Later that afternoon, a formal delegation arrived, human and Thalin, side by side. No soldiers. No threats. Just officials carrying updated regulations, transcripts, and formal apologies. Councillor Thrixon was not among them. Nixery accepted the papers without a word, handed them to John, and returned to the garden. The humans gave John a quiet nod of respect. The Thalin bowed to Nixery, once an outcast, now proof of an unprecedented, successful bond. Later that evening, John stood near the edge of the garden, watching the glow return to the vines. Nixery approached him with a bowl of fruit. He took one piece. "Sweet." "It's always been sweet," she said. "You just never tasted it before." He smiled. "Maybe I just didn't have the right company." She sat cross-legged in the grass. "There's something I want to show you." John joined her. She placed her fingers against his chest. Not to connect. Just to feel his heartbeat. Then she whispered a word, not in English, not even Thalin. It didn't translate. But he felt it. It meant welcome home. A memory swelled in his chest, not hers, not his, but theirs. Quiet nights, laughter, work shared, hands held without need. A vision of a future built not in urgency, but in trust. Nixery opened her eyes. John asked, "What was that?" "A projection. Of what could be. The resonance gives us glimpses. And what if it doesn't come true? Then we make something better." They leaned into each other, no ceremony, no declarations. Just presence. That night, he returned to his cabin for the first time in days. It felt colder, smaller, distant. He walked through it slowly, hand brushing across counters, bookshelves, furniture that once meant solitude. Now they felt incomplete. He didn't sleep there. Instead, he gathered only what he needed: clothes, a datapad, one photo of his parents. Then he returned to Nixery's home without knocking. She opened the door before he reached it. "Changed your mind?" she asked. "No," he said. "I made it up." From then on, they shared space, not out of obligation, but comfort. Some days they spoke for hours. Some days they said nothing at all. The resonance no longer dominated, it softened, shaped itself around them like music heard faintly from another room. Weeks passed. The colony adjusted. Laws adapted. Scientists documented their bond, quietly, respectfully. But none could replicate what made it work. Because it wasn't just resonance. It was choice. One morning, John was working on a solar calibration module near the garden when Nixery appeared with her tools. "Thought I'd help," she said. He looked up. "You don't know anything about solar panels." "I'm learning." He grinned. "You're stubborn. You're slow." They worked side by side. She handed him the wrong wrench. He installed the right panel backward. They laughed. The garden pulsed gently beside them. Later that evening, Nixery lay beside him beneath the stars. She whispered, "I used to think my emotions were dangerous. That's what they told me." John turned to her, tracing the edge of her jaw. "They're not dangerous," he said. "They're just powerful. Like you." She smiled faintly. "And you? You still scared of feeling too much?" He didn't answer right away. Then, softly, "Not anymore." The wind rustled the vines. She curled closer. And in that quiet moment, under 2 moons and a sky they now shared, John knew he hadn't just survived the resonance. He'd found love that rewrote everything he thought he understood.